Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my channel. Have you ever found yourself staring at a text thread that just stops? The energy was there, the chemistry seemed real, and then silence. You wonder, what did I miss? You replay conversations in your head. You analyze your tone. You second-guess your instincts. And still the mystery lingers. Why did she pull away? Why does she lose interest just when things feel like they're about to get real? I'm here to tell you, it's not just about what you say, it's about who you are when you say it. Because attraction, real attraction, isn't logical, it's visceral. Women aren't scanning a checklist in their heads when they're drawn to someone. It's far deeper than that. It's emotional, it's energetic, it's chemical. And if you've ever wanted to understand what truly draws a woman in, not just for a night, but in a way that lingers in her memory and stirs her imagination, then stay with me. This isn't about game or manipulation. It's about mastery, mastery of self, mastery of presence, mastery of connection. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the 9 traits that women are magnetically drawn to. Not surface charm, not tricks. I'm talking about the kind of traits that captivate her mind and make her soul whisper, I want more. So take a breath, relax, and let's start this journey, not to control her, but to understand what makes her feel seen, safe, and completely irresistibly yours. You know, sometimes I wonder, when did we forget that desire isn't born from perfection? It doesn't come from ticking all the right boxes. It blooms in the space between words, in the glance that lingers, in the calm assurance of someone who doesn't need to prove anything to be felt. That's what magnetizes a woman. That's what pulls her in when she least expects it. And for the man watching this, maybe you've spent years trying to be what women say they want, successful, polite, dependable. And yet somehow it feels like you're invisible, like your efforts are met with politeness but not passion. You show up, you do the right things, but the fire, it never quite lights. Or it flickers, then dies. What if I told you that attraction lives in places you've been taught to avoid? In the way you handle your own silence, in the way you enter a room without shrinking or puffing up, in the quiet gravity of a man who owns his own presence. These are not traits you buy, they're traits you embody. And when you do, she feels it, in her body, in her breath, in the way she instinctively leans in, even if her mind hasn't caught up. Let me tell you a story. There was a man, let's call him Daniel, 43, divorced, successful on paper, but every date left him feeling like a good resume that no one was hiring. One night, after yet another date where he paid for dinner, asked thoughtful questions, and still got the, "You're a really nice guy" text, he sat in his car and asked himself, what am I missing? And that question, it changed everything, because Daniel stopped trying to impress. He stopped trying to be agreeable. He started showing up with honesty, with presence, with a kind of self-respect that didn't demand validation. And suddenly, women weren't just smiling, they were leaning forward, laughing deeper, touching his arm, asking when they could see him again. So what changed? Let's begin with the first trait. And it's not what most people expect, emotional grounding. It's not flashy, it's not loud, but it is magnetic. A woman is not drawn to a man because he never feels fear or sadness or doubt. She's drawn to the man who can feel those things and still stay rooted. He doesn't collapse into chaos. He doesn't flinch at emotional depth. He doesn't try to fix her when she's feeling something. He holds space for it. Have you ever seen a tree in the middle of a storm? The wind thrashes, the branches whip, but the trunk, it stands. That's emotional grounding. And when you embody it, you become that safe place in a world that often feels overwhelming. A woman feels it when she's around you. She breathes deeper. She relaxes because she senses on a deep, instinctual level that you can handle her, not control her, not manipulate her, but be with her fully without needing her to shrink for your comfort. And here's the secret. When you stop trying to fix everything, you actually become the solution. When you stop trying to be right, you become trustworthy. When you stop reacting, you become a mirror for her own strength. That's what makes her crave you. Not your achievements, not your car, not your jawline, but your internal stillness. Now from this stillness, something else emerges. Something that moves like fire under your skin. Unapologetic authenticity. Let's be honest. Most men have been taught to play it safe. Don't rock the boat. Don't show too much interest. Don't express too much passion. Be neutral. Be agreeable. But do you know what that creates? Boredom. You become invisible, predictable, replaceable. But when you show up with full truth, your opinions, your quirks, your preferences, you become unforgettable. A woman doesn't want perfection. She wants real. She wants contrast, texture, conflict that doesn't scare you, flaws you don't hide. Imagine sitting across from someone who tells you exactly what he thinks, kindly, but without flinching. Who admits, don't like small talk. I like conversations that make me feel something. Or who says, I find intelligence sexy. I want to know what lights you up. That kind of man. He doesn't chase. He invites. He doesn't edit himself to fit. He expands the space so others can meet him there. And here's the beautiful paradox. When you stop trying to be liked, people begin to love you because they can trust you, because there's nothing lurking behind the curtain. No mask to decode. No agenda. Just presence. Do you see how emotional grounding and authenticity feed each other? You ground yourself so you can express your truth, and your truth grounds others. It's a feedback loop of power, not domination, not ego, but influence, real, subtle, lasting influence. And let's take it deeper. When a man like that walks into a room, something shifts, not because he's the loudest, but because he's congruent. Everything about him aligns. His words, his eyes, his energy, they tell the same story. That kind of alignment is rare, and rare things are always irresistible. Women pick up on it instantly, not through logic, through their bodies. A quickening in the chest, a shift in their posture, a feeling of being safe and alive at the same time. You don't need a six-pack to do that. You don't need millions in the bank. You need clarity, congruence, a willingness to say, this is who I am, and I'm not asking for permission to be it. And when she feels that, she'll want to know more. She'll want to stay longer. She'll wonder, who is this man? Why do I feel this way around him? Because in a world full of noise, you've become a tuning fork, resonant, real, rare. So, let me ask you, how often do you shrink to be liked? How often do you agree just to keep the peace? How often do you hold back because you're afraid your honesty might scare her away? What if I told you the very thing you fear might be the very thing she's starving for? Because a woman doesn't fall in love with the man who tries to make her comfortable. She falls for the one who makes her feel alive. And aliveness, it starts with you. That's where we begin. But it's only the beginning. There's something that happens when a woman is in the presence of a man who knows who he is. Not just intellectually, but physically, emotionally, spiritually. She feels it before he even speaks. And it's not about arrogance. No, it's about alignment. It's the quiet confidence of someone who has wrestled with himself and no longer needs to perform. This kind of man doesn't walk into a room looking for attention, but the moment he does, the energy changes. Not because he's the loudest, not because he's the best dressed, but because he carries himself like someone who doesn't need anything, but is open to everything. There's a subtle difference. One chases, the other attracts, and that brings us to something rarely talked about, but always felt, a sense of purpose. Purpose isn't your job. It's not your resume. It's not the hustle you post on social media to look like you have it all figured out. No. Purpose is what pulls you out of bed in the morning when no one's watching. It's the thing that makes your eyes light up when you speak about it. It's the fire that burns in your belly when you're working on something that matters. Not because of the applause, but because it's yours. And when a woman sees that in you, something profound happens. She sees a man who isn't waiting for love to give him direction. She sees someone who is already in motion, already building, already becoming. And the beauty is, she doesn't feel used. She feels inspired. She doesn't have to rescue you. She gets to walk beside you. Women don't want to be your savior. They want to be your witness. Let me say that again. She doesn't want to complete you. She wants to be swept up in your becoming, to feel the momentum of a man who is going somewhere. And here's what's wild. Your purpose doesn't have to be flashy. You could be restoring vintage motorcycles, teaching kids how to code, training for your first marathon at 45. It's not about what you do. It's about how alive you feel when you do it. That aliveness is contagious. She sees your eyes light up and she wants to be near that flame. But purpose alone is not enough, because purpose without presence becomes obsession. And that's where our next trait lives, in the tension between focus and freedom, playfulness. I want you to imagine something. You're sitting across from her. Maybe it's your third date. The wine has loosened the edges of the conversation. She's opening up about her dreams, her fears. And then you smile, not because you're mocking her, but because you feel the sweetness of the moment. You tease her gently. You challenge her lovingly. You break the seriousness with a glimmer of delight. That's playfulness. It's the art of levity, the ability to turn an ordinary moment into something flirtatious. It says, I don't need to control this moment. I'm dancing with it. And women crave this more than they admit, because life is heavy. We carry so much responsibilities, expectations, disappointments. And when a man can meet a woman in her depth and still lift the room with lightness, he becomes unforgettable. Playfulness is not immaturity. It's not cracking jokes to hide insecurity. It's the freedom to be spontaneous, to be unpredictable, to say things like, you're trouble, aren't you? With a half smile and a twinkle in your eye. It's presence with mischief. And let me tell you, mischief is sexy. It teases the edges of imagination. It invites her to let go. And in letting go, she feels safe. Because you've shown her that connection doesn't have to mean pressure. That depth can come with delight. That laughter and longing can live in the same room. So we have grounding, we have authenticity, we have purpose and play. But there's something else, something darker, something every woman feels but rarely puts into words. And that is mystery, not secrecy, not withholding. Mystery, the kind of mystery that doesn't reveal everything at once. The kind that lets silence breathe without rushing to fill it. The kind that knows desire is not fed by certainty, it's fed by curiosity. Think about it. In the early days of attraction, what drives us wild? It's not knowing everything. It's wondering. It's imagining. It's discovering new layers. Mystery is the art of pacing, of not dumping your entire life story in the first hour, of holding some things close to your chest, not out of fear but out of elegance. And mystery doesn't mean you avoid vulnerability. In fact, the most magnetic men are deeply open, but in doses. Like a well-written novel, they reveal enough to keep you hooked, but never everything at once. This space, this slowness, it makes a woman lean in, wonder, want. It allows attraction to build, instead of burning out too fast. But here's the key, mystery without presence becomes distance. And that's why it must be paired with emotional availability, because when a woman senses that you're hiding, she'll feel abandoned. But when she senses that you're simply unfolding at your own pace with intention, she'll feel seduced. Mystery invites pursuit. It lets her imagination work for you. And the truth is, what a woman imagines about you is often more powerful than what you say. So hold back, not to manipulate, but to magnetize. Let her earn your layers. Let her discover you the way you would a rare wine, slowly, intentionally, with reverence. Now, this may feel like a contradiction. How can you be authentic and mysterious? The answer is by being intentional. You don't owe your entire self to anyone at once. Reveal your truth, but reveal it with rhythm. And in that rhythm, you create anticipation. And anticipation is the birthplace of desire. Let's breathe here for a moment, because we've touched on some deep waters. You're not just learning traits. You're learning a way of being, a grounded presence that calms her nervous system, a vibrant authenticity that makes her feel safe, a sense of purpose that makes her feel inspired, a playful lightness that lets her relax, a mysterious rhythm that draws her in. And you didn't have to become someone else to do it. You didn't have to fake a thing. You just had to strip away the performance, the proving, the over-explaining. You had to return to something simpler, something deeper, yourself. That's the paradox, isn't it? The more you try to be what you think she wants, the less she feels you. But the more you embody who you really are, with presence, with play, with purpose, she can't look away. Not because you said the right thing, but because you said it like you meant it. And that changes everything. There's a moment in every connection, whether it's a first date or a long-time partnership, when something quiet and sacred happens. The conversation slows, the air thickens, a look is exchanged, and without words, she begins to wonder, can I trust him with my heart, with my chaos, with the parts of me I don't show the world? And in that moment, it's no longer about charisma or charm. It's not about how good you look in a suit or what kind of car you drive. It's about emotional availability. And that, my dear friend, is one of the rarest, most irresistible traits a man can offer. Let's talk about it. Emotional availability. It means your heart is not locked behind walls of cool detachment or overthinking. You're not addicted to the chase. You're not withholding affection to maintain some illusion of power. You are here, open, present, capable of giving and receiving intimacy without drowning in it. So many men confuse strength with emotional distance. They think being stoic means being untouchable. But a man who never lets himself be seen, who never lets his tenderness touch the surface, is not strong. He's guarded. And while that may protect him, it also keeps love out. A woman needs to feel that you can go there with her, that if she opens, you won't disappear, that if she cries, you won't flinch, that if she tells you about her fears, you won't change the subject, you'll stay. Emotional availability is the ability to witness her vulnerability and offer your own in return. It says, you are safe with me. You don't have to be perfect, and neither do I. And when a woman feels that safety, something magical happens. She softens, she lets go, she begins to trust not just you, but herself around you. She no longer performs, she shows up real. And that kind of connection, it's rare, it's electric, and it's unforgettable. Now, there's a word I haven't used yet, but it's been running like a current beneath everything we've explored so far. It's not loud, but it's powerful. And without it, none of the other traits matter. That word is integrity. The quiet, unwavering alignment between what you say and what you do. Integrity is not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. It's about being someone she can count on, not just in grand gestures, but in the small things. When you say you'll call, you do. When you make a promise, you keep it. When you make a mistake, you own it. And here's the thing, women are constantly reading between the lines, not to trap you, but to feel you, to sense in her body whether your words and your energy match. When they don't, she feels it, even if she can't name it, and she pulls back. But when they do, when your actions mirror your intentions, she relaxes, she opens, she begins to trust. Integrity creates safety, and safety creates space for vulnerability, play, passion, for all the wild, raw, beautiful things that make intimacy worth the risk. And this is where I want to take you to our final trait. Something primal, something that's not spoken but felt. It's not taught in school, but it lives in the eyes of every woman who's ever looked at a man and thought, I want him. It is the masculine edge. Now, I want to be clear, this is not about dominance. It's not about being the loudest or the strongest. It's not about forcing your way through the world. No, this edge is subtle. It lives in how you carry yourself, how you move, how you lead without needing control. It's the power of being rooted in your desire without being consumed by it. You don't need permission to want her, but you also don't collapse if she says no. This edge is what makes your touch feel intentional, your gaze feel penetrating, your energy feel deeply masculine without being performative. And women feel this viscerally. It's in the way you guide her hand across the table, the way you place your palm on the small of her back as you walk, the way you look at her, not like you're entitled to her, but like you see her fully, and it awakens something in you. A woman doesn't want to feel dominated. She wants to feel your strength and know she's safe within it. Your masculine edge is what holds the container. It's what makes her feel she can surrender into the moment. Because you're not chaotic, you're anchored. And in your anchoring, she finds freedom. So take a breath. Feel into your body, into your spine, into your chest. Can you feel the weight of your presence? That quiet, grounded masculinity that doesn't shout, but draws her in like gravity. That's what she responds to. That's what her body remembers long after the conversation ends. And when these 9 traits come together, emotional grounding, unapologetic, authenticity, purpose, playfulness, mystery, emotional availability, integrity, and that masculine edge, you become more than desirable, you become unforgettable, because it's not just about attraction anymore. It's about depth. It's about resonance. It's about creating a space where she feels more herself with you than without you. And that, my friend, is rare. You're not chasing her. You're awakening something inside her. You're becoming the kind of man whose presence lingers, whose touch echoes, whose absence is felt. And you didn't do it by pretending to be someone you're not. You did it by stripping away everything you thought you had to be. So here's what I want you to remember deep in your bones. You don't need tricks. You don't need lines. You don't need strategies. You need presence, truth, desire, intention. You need to show up fully, unapologetically, relationally, because women don't fall for perfection. They fall for realness, for congruence, for depth, for men who make them feel not controlled, but chosen. And when you become that kind of man, she won't just want you, she'll crave you. So let's say you're feeling it now. Something inside you has stirred. A sense of awakening, maybe even a sense of grief. Grief for all the years you tried to be liked instead of being known. For the times you shrank yourself to make her comfortable. For the moments you had something real to give, but didn't know how to give it. And that's okay. In fact, that's awareness. That's your starting point, because these traits aren't costumes you put on. They're not personas you borrow to impress her. They are choices, practices, embodied truths that you return to again and again, and they live not in performance, but in how you move through the world. Let's make this real now. You're at a coffee shop. The woman in front of you is ordering. She's confident, put together. Your usual instinct might be to stay quiet, to watch her walk out the door and think to yourself, I wish I had said something. But today, something's different. You lean forward and with grounded eye contact, not needy, not rushed, you say, you look like someone who knows exactly what she wants. Then you smile, not to seduce, but to connect. And for a moment, the air between you shifts. She turns, she smiles back. That's presence. And even if nothing else happens, even if she walks away with her coffee and you never see her again, you've practiced stepping forward. You've practiced honesty, boldness, warmth. This is how you begin to live the traits. Because here's the truth, if these traits only exist inside your head, they are nothing but beautiful ideas. Potential without action is paralysis. And the only way to refine these traits is to express them over and over again, without needing approval, without fearing rejection. You will be misunderstood. Some women won't get it. Some won't respond. But some will look at you like they've just found oxygen in a world of smoke. Now, maybe you're in a relationship already. Maybe you've been married for years. You might be thinking, how do I awaken this again with the woman who already knows me? And I'll tell you, this familiarity does not kill attraction. Neglect does. When was the last time you truly saw her? Not as your partner, not as the mother of your children, but as a woman, a sensual, emotional, complex, curious woman. When was the last time you touched her, not to initiate sex, not to fix something, but simply to say, I see you? A hand on her lower back in the kitchen, a brush of her hair behind her ear as she reads, a whisper in her ear, you look so damn good in that dress. That's the masculine edge with love. That's mystery in long-term connection. That's playfulness that doesn't die with time, it deepens. And when she responds, maybe with surprise, maybe with a smile, maybe with tears, that's not just chemistry. That's emotional availability at work. You've created a moment of safety. And in that safety, she relaxes into her femininity, into her softness, into the parts of her that have been waiting patiently for you to return. Because you've never stopped being that man. You just stopped remembering how to embody him. And what about purpose? It's easy to forget yourself in a relationship, to merge identities, to trade your personal mission for collective stability. But a woman needs to see you still choosing something that belongs only to you. Not because you're escaping her, but because you're staying whole. You want to be more attractive tomorrow than you were yesterday. Start feeding your purpose again. Start tending to the fire that exists outside of her love. Because when she sees you committed to something that lights you up, that makes you sweat, that challenges you, she remembers the man she first fell for. The man who didn't need her, but chose her anyway. And integrity, that's what makes her feel safe enough to soften, safe enough to surrender. So the next time you're running late, don't text an excuse. Call her. Be real on it. When you make a promise, follow through. Even if no one would blame you for bailing. When you feel resistance creeping in. When you want to ghost or retreat or disappear, pause. Choose honesty instead. Say, this is hard for me, but I'm here. Say, I don't always know what I'm feeling right away, but I want to find the words. That's not weakness. That's emotional maturity. That's a trait that turns a good man into an irresistible one. And then there's mystery. How do you sustain it when she's seen you sick, angry, vulnerable, messy? You cultivate your inner world. You read, you create, you explore things that have nothing to do with her. You don't tell her every thought the moment you have it. You leave room for discovery. You let silence be. Mystery isn't about being distant. It's about being dimensional, because when you have a rich inner world, she gets to explore you, not just once, but again and again, like a book with layers she never noticed before, like music that sounds different depending on her mood. That's mystery and maturity, and emotional grounding. That's your anchor, every day, in traffic, at work, with your family. When the waiter forgets your order, when she's upset and you feel your defenses rising. That's the moment to breathe, to feel your feet on the ground, to stay present, because when you stay calm in the chaos, she feels held, not controlled, held. And that kind of holding, that's what lets her open to you. Not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, erotically. So now, I want to ask you something deeply important. Who are you when no one is watching? When there's no applause, no flirtation, no audience? Because that version of you, that's the one who sets the tone for how women experience you. That's the man you bring to the date, to the bedroom, to the late night arguments and early morning rituals. So cultivate him, tend to him, let him breathe and stumble and rise again. Because the man who lives in alignment with these 9 traits, he doesn't need tactics, he doesn't need tricks. He walks into a room and the room feels it. Not because he's trying to be anyone, but because he's finally being himself. And that, my friend, is the most seductive thing of all. Have you ever noticed that the most powerful moments between two people are often the quietest? Not when you're showing off, not when you're trying to impress, but when you're simply there, breathing, listening, letting the space between you fill with a kind of knowing that doesn't need to be named. That's the space where love is born, where desire grows, where women who are endlessly intuitive feel the truth of who you are. And that truth, it's either magnetic or forgettable. So many men spend their lives asking, what do women want? As if it's a riddle to be solved, a pattern to decode, a puzzle once unlocked that guarantees success. But the real question, the one most men are afraid to ask, is not what she wants. It's what do I want to give? Because when you begin to live from that question, from that rooted, unapologetic desire to offer the fullest version of yourself, you stop performing, you stop chasing, you stop pretending, and you start to lead. You lead with presence, with curiosity, with desire that is unafraid of rejection, because it does not seek validation, it seeks resonance. You become the man who says, I don't need you to complete me. I want to share this fire with you, but I won't dim it to earn your love. That man is unforgettable. He doesn't control her mind with words or promises or performance. He influences it by the way he lives, by the way he makes her feel when he walks into a room. Calm, alive, safe, desired. Seen, he becomes a mirror, not just for her beauty, but for her bravery. He becomes a safe house for her complexity, a place where she can bring her wildness, her softness, her hunger, her fear. Because here's what women know. Deep in their bones, most men cannot hold the full spectrum of a woman. They want her body, but not her emotions, her beauty, but not her rage, her devotion, but not her depth. But the man who can, the man who says, bring all of it, I can hold this, I want to hold this, he doesn't need to chase, because she will want to give herself to him, not as a performance, but as a gift. You become the man her nervous system trusts before her mind even catches up. That's not mind games, that's mastery. But to master her mind, you must first master your own. Because everything you want to evoke in her, you must be able to hold in yourself. If you want her trust, you must become trustworthy. If you want her softness, you must learn how to disarm your own armor. If you want her wideness, you must stop fearing your own emotional chaos and learn how to anchor it. And if you want her to surrender to you, her body, her loyalty, her spirit, you must surrender first, not to her, but to the truth of your own becoming. That is how the masculine leads, not by domination, but by devotion, not by control, but by clarity, not by convincing her, but by calling her forward through who you are. So what does that look like? Practically, it looks like integrity when no one's watching. It looks like being able to sit with your own loneliness without numbing it. It looks like being turned on by her joy instead of threatened by it. It looks like apologizing without collapsing. It looks like wanting her without needing her to want you back. That is the man she cannot forget. The man who can say, I desire you. I'm attracted to you. I want to make love to you, but not because I need to feel enough. I already am. I want to share that with you. That energy is holy. That energy rewires her brain. That energy makes her think about you in the middle of the day when nothing should remind her of you, but her body does anyway, because it wasn't just your touch. It was your truth that seduced her. So let's breathe here together. Let's remember who you really are beneath the noise, beneath the strategies, beneath the questions. You are not here to learn tricks. You are here to remember your power, and not the power that intimidates, the power that liberates, the power that says, I see you, I want you, but I don't need to own you to feel whole. That's the kind of power that changes a woman, not because she's dependent on it, but because she's drawn to it. Over and over again. So what are the 9 irresistible traits that awaken her? You already know them now, not as words, but as ways of being: emotional grounding, unapologetic authenticity, purpose, playfulness, mystery, emotional availability, integrity, masculine edge, embodied presence. These are not steps, they are a synergy. Together they don't just make you attractive, they make you dangerous in the most beautiful, transformative sense of the word. Because the world doesn't need more men chasing women, it needs more men claiming themselves. When you live like this, she doesn't just fall for you. She remembers you. In the quiet moments, in the deep places, in the late hours when she's not even sure why you're still in her mind. It's not because you played the game. It's because you became the man the game was never designed to create. So if this resonated with you, if you feel something stirring in your chest, don't let this just be another video you watched and forgot. Let it be a turning point. Let it be the moment you stopped asking, what do women want from me? And started asking, what kind of man do I want to become? Because the woman who's waiting to meet you, the real you, can only recognize you once you do. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening with your heart. If this spoke to something inside you, drop a comment below. Share what resonated most. And if you want to walk this journey with me, to explore what it really means to love, lead, and live from your core, subscribe. This is just the beginning, because you don't need to chase women to control their minds. You just need to remember your own. Here's to the man you were always meant to be. Here's to the love you've always deserved. And here's to the woman who's been waiting for you.